All right, 'tis the season, and people are out there contemplating upgrading their gear. And I wanted to make a video specifically about if you're in the camp where you are looking to upgrade your beginner or starter grade acoustic guitar into more of a guitar that could serve you as a reliable, everyday gigging player's guitar, and like what qualities it should have, what you're really looking for, what's the difference it's going to make, and some other considerations of that sort. And also to talk about maybe the argument against going straight from beginner to like top shelf elite level instruments. And the reason I want to address that is because I actually see that, I see that sentiment out there quite a lot, actually, in terms of people who kind of tip their hand in like songwriter forums that they are in that camp, that they are just starting out and they're looking to get the right gear, but they kind of will sort of poo-poo, so one that I saw just yesterday, I think, was somebody saying, all I have is this stupid Seagull, and I feel like I just need to bite the bullet and go get a Taylor. And to me, for instance, I look at that, I'm like, geez, I've never met a Seagull I didn't like. A Seagull is a great choice for an everyday gigging guitar. In fact, I own a Seagull and have loved it, and that is that's my bread and butter workhorse guitar for both recording and for gigging. That's a guitar I take everywhere and use all the time and have great things to say about it. I also own a Taylor, and while there are some reasons that I am exploring that, which is more of a top shelf kind of guitar, I also think, I think I can also make the case for why I wouldn't counsel someone who is currently playing a starter grade guitar to immediately just throw a lot of money at a Taylor or a Martin or some other sort of top shelf guitar. In any event, let me start with dispelling what is a commonly held belief that I think is a little bit of a myth, which is that, so for instance, a lot of starter grade guitars are in the sort of the $100 to $200 range, new or kind of new used, let's say. And I think it is definitely the case that a $200 guitar versus say a $2,000 guitar, it is almost certainly not the case that the $2,000 guitar sounds 10 times better, sounds 10 times more the acoustic guitar than the $200 guitar. And I'll talk in a minute about what does make it sometimes worth it to have the $2,000 guitar. But first, let's put that to the test. Just here in this room, I'm going to play 3 guitars. One of them would probably price used at $200 or so. Another would probably price used around $450, maybe as much as $500. And then finally, and I'm not going to do them in this order, I'll do them in some order and then I'll reveal, because that's more fun. Finally, I'll take one that is more of a top shelf kind of guitar, one that would be, say, used $1,000 to $1,200, and then let's see what differences you can detect. And I'm going to hold in abeyance that actually the one difference that I know about that I think is most evident, I think in this little test here, is something unexpected. So let's try them out one by one. Okay, here's mystery guitar A. Here's mystery guitar B. finally, here's Mystery Guitar C. Okay, here are the three guitars I just played left to right. So on the furthest left is guitar A, which is a Taylor, which is, let's say, worth roughly $1,000 used. It's a cedar top, and I think it's a sapel back and side, so it's got real tone woods. And then here in the middle is guitar B, which is an Ibanez Performance that I've had since like 1992 or 93. This is one that is probably worth about $200 used, only because it has a nice pickup. If it were as I bought it, which was without a pickup, it'd probably be worth about 100, maybe squeaking through to 125, 150 max used. And then finally on the right is guitar C, which is a Seagull Entourage. So this is a cedar top guitar, and I forget what the back and sides are, but I think it is also, I think they're solid tone woods. This is probably worth about 400, maybe 450 used. And so that, in fact, is that's my number one guitar that I take to gigs all over the place. And that's my workhorse is guitar C. So let's talk about the differences. So hopefully that fun experiment made the point. This Taylor, nice as it is, doesn't really sound 10 times better, 10 times more acoustic guitar-y than the Ibanez, which is worth maybe $100, $200, given that it's got this nice aftermarket pickup in it. A quick aside from future Cody. So I actually shot this video a couple months ago and I haven't gotten around to editing it, but at the same time I shot, the same idea as a YouTube short. Just, can you tell the difference between these three guitars? And I just played them, off screen and then revealed the order, the sort of minute-long version. I'll link to it here so you can go check it out because, as a counterpoint to my thesis, in fairness, there's quite a number of people in the comments who felt compelled to defend that they could tell the difference and that there was a difference, and they tried to describe what that difference was. I am not convinced, sorry to say, but you can check that out and kind of decide for yourself. Am I being kind of Emperor's New Guitar gaslit, or have they got a point and I'm ignoring something obvious about these guitars? In any event, back to our regularly scheduled stupid video. In fact, the biggest, most obvious discernible difference in sound quality that I could hear was that this Taylor has brand new strings on it. The Ibanez has almost brand new strings on it. It's only been lightly gigged since I last changed the strings. And the Seagull, I last changed the strings probably around Christmas of last year. It's Thanksgiving, a couple days now. And it's been my primary gigging guitar. So it's gotten a lot of use. Now there's a lot of life left in the strings. Like, I don't feel like the strings sound overly dull, but they certainly have lost that new string presence. So I hear that difference between this and the Seagull for sure. But I know that if I had gone the whole 9 yards and changed those strings, there'd probably be almost no difference between these three guitars that you could really hear in the room. They are all well-made boxes. They all sound good. They all sound like an acoustic guitar, in my opinion. There's some subtle differences, just very subtle when you talk about one tone wood versus another. And in this case, we really have two cedar top guitars. This Taylor and the Seagull are both cedar top. This one has sapel back and sides, and I think that if memory serves, the Seagull has mahogany back and sides. So solid tone woods. And then the Ibanez is a laminate. In other words, it's like a plywood. not some solid tone wood, but some other cheaper wood, perhaps pressed together, but still sounds pretty nice. So what is the thing? What is the case? Why would you want to upgrade out of your starter grade guitar? Now, if you had this Ibanez, I think it's actually a gig-worthy guitar. And I think that Ibanez's in general, I've had great luck with them. I have another one that's a zebra wood guitar, so a zebra wood top, but it's still like $400 new. Fantastic guitar. I gig with that all the time, and it has actually probably one of the best pickups of any guitar I have, and it has like a dual mode pickup where it's got a balanced out and a 1/4 inch out, and the balanced out is so crisp and clean. It's such a hot, clean, nice signal that it actually is arguably the best quality pickup that I have, rivaled only by its cousin, my Ibanez nylon guitar. Again, with a really hot, it's the same sort of pickup, a dual output. So that brings me to like point one. How does it sound through a PA? Because that's what gigging with a guitar is. Is the signal great? Does it sound like is it really easy to manage? Do you have some tone controls, some tone shaping? You know, if you've got a high, medium, low EQ, if you've got a volume control, do you have an onboard tuner on the... these are all things that are great when you're gigging. Another thing, I want that guitar to stay in tune for 3 hours. I want it to stay where I put it and not start to pull the machines out of tune. A lot of starter guitars, that's sort of a giveaway, is that they don't stay in tune. When you go pick it up to play it, it's like radically out of tune instead of pretty close to where you left it, even days later, weeks later. So if your guitar comes out of tune a lot, that's a pretty compelling case to upgrade to a guitar with better machinery. And that's where, like, say, this Taylor, these are great tuning machines. Like, these have extra gears to them, as many high-end guitars do, and have much more continuous fine adjustment. And so it's a really nice treat. Another thing you're looking for in your guitar is just that it is comfortable to play. And that comes down to a few things. The first, most important thing to me that comes down to is that the guitar is well in tune with itself, that the intonation is good when the action is comfortable. The intonation is good means that when I play the 12th fret harmonic, it is exactly the same note as the fretted 12th fret note. Here's the harmonic, here's the note. Exactly the same when the action is comfortable, meaning when the strings are at the height off the fretboard that you want it to be. For me, that is fairly low, not so low that it would ever buzz, but that it's easy to just fret these notes. I don't have to sit there and claw the thing down. It's just easy to fret the chords. It's easy to move around. It's easy to slide. It's easy because it's set up correctly. This is a really comfortable guitar. Another element of the comfort of the guitar is something that can be fixed by having the guitar set up if this is not the case, but as I sort of grip the neck here and slide my hand down, I should not feel like I'm about to go off the edge of the highway and go blah, 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 and be catching the ends of these frets. If that's the case, and that is often the case, it's called fret sprout. That's often the case, or sometimes the case with starter grade guitars. That is something that you can fix, that you can file down these frets. And I did have to do that with the Ibanez long ago. I did have to file down the frets a little bit and get them smooth. And you can also have that done for you by taking your guitar in for what's called a setup. Another thing to look for, a problem with starter grade guitars, is that sometimes the bridge, this part here will be lifting, especially after a year or two, that this will be peeling away from the body of the guitar. If you were to look at it down here, you'd see a gap forming. that's a problem that needs to get addressed. And then at that point, you're thinking about, well, should I put money into repairing this, or should I put that money towards an upgrade into a guitar that maybe better constructed and not prone to that problem. And then finally, the sort of the pedigree of more expensive guitars, of upper grade, pro or elite model guitars, is the tone woods. So we're looking at something like, again, like this is a cedar top with sapel back and sides. The Seagull is a cedar top, and I think it's mahogany back and sides. And then the Ibanez is as many starter grade guitars are, is laminate. So again, it doesn't have a radical effect on the sound, but it has a subtle effect, and especially if you're in a recording situation, it has an effect that can be brought out by a more accomplished engineer. So you can bring out a lot more beauty or warmth from a really well-made guitar. But that's really, as I alluded to, like, that's my argument against, like, if you currently have whatever, a Rogue guitar, like a true starter grade guitar, and you're looking to gig, the main thing you want is a reliable guitar that stays in tune, that has a decent pickup, that's comfortable to play. You don't need to leap to a Taylor, a Martin, because what you may ultimately find is that you chose poorly. Like, you went and you got a brand new Taylor, and it's like getting an expensive car. Like, it's never going to be worth, again, what you pay for it. And if you can find one used, that's great. You may find that you're unhappy with how that plays, or it doesn't quite do it for you, or you don't like these little controls, you don't like the pickup mechanism, you just sort of bought into the marketing a little bit. Not that Taylors aren't great. I love this guitar. It's extremely comfortable. It sounds great. It's inspiring. But I did great just gigging with that Ibanez, actually. And the Seagull is all the guitar I need and sounds wonderful. So when I think about somebody like complaining, oh, all I've got is this Seagull, what I immediately understand is they don't really know what they need, because a Seagull is a great option. So let me give you just a handful of recommendations real quick. I know this is getting long, but let me tell you sort of my personal recommendations for brands to look for that are kind of in different price points, and then off you go and get out there and get your upgrade and take advantage of sales of the season. Okay, so because I've had so many guitars pass through my hands as part of my sort of my side business doing guitar resale, which is why I have so many guitars sitting around, I have some opinions about them, and I don't want to go on too long. So I'm basically going to give you just a handful of recommendations for what I would recommend for somebody who has a starter grade guitar that is in need of being upgraded, and what I would steer them towards. And really, it should come as no surprise. So the first thing I would steer you towards is Seagull. Seagull guitars are fantastic. They're very comfortable. They're extremely well made. You are a lot of times getting you're getting more tone wood for the buck, more bang for the buck in terms of a very nice tone wood than you would from other makers. So for instance, I absolutely recommend the guitar I just showed you, which is the Seagull Entourage Cutaway. It has a great pickup, great signal, onboard tuner, very comfortable. With Seagulls, you do need to pay attention to the nut width, and I would always counsel you, if you're going to buy a guitar, you need to actually hold it in your hands and play it and be comfortable with it, because comfort is so much of your decision. So be mindful of the nut width. So things like the Seagull S6 tend to be a little bit wider 2-inch nut, which for me is not comfortable, as opposed to the 1 3/4 inch nut, the sort of standard nut size of of the entourage. The nut, if you don't already know, is this width right here. 1 3/4 is sort of a standard width, and 2 inches is a wider, closer to like the classical guitar, or the classical guitar of yore. Second, I've never met a Breedlove I didn't like, and they have some really nice guitars, even in sort of lower end, and you're often getting some access to some really different kind of tone woods, like myrtle wood, that other makers don't utilize quite as much. So it's something to consider. They have good electronics as a rule, well constructed, good hardware. And again, you want to pay attention to the nut, because some Breedloves are a 2-inch nut, and you want to be mindful of that if that's a consideration for you. Mindful of the comfort there. It can be an adjustment. And then finally, I absolutely think that Ibanez has great guitars in the sort of low professional price point, in the sort of $400 range. And I think that they are really one where my experience has been that their electronics are a little above and beyond. The two best performance pickups that I have are factory Ibanez pickups. I think they have they may have a partnership with Fishman, but I can't remember that for sure. But they're dual pickups. It's a balanced out and a 1/4 inch out. My workhorse nylon guitar and this zebra wood guitar that I often gig with both have similar dual output pickups, and that balanced out in particular is super hot, super clean, really easy to work with, and I often get comments from sound people when I end up using that as like, that is crystal clear and sounds a lot more true than a typical acoustic pickup. So that's 3 I recommend. That's not to say that there aren't other good ones. One I kind of steer away from, even though I love their electric guitars. Fender, I think you don't get as much for what you pay. They're not nicer than those others, but you pay as much as those others or more. So those are 3 great middle tier makers that I personally stand behind, believe in. There are others out there, and you can comment and point us to some other videos, but just off the top of my head, that's what I would steer someone to if I were making recommendations. So, till next time, take it easy.